Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third Global Conference on Victim Assistance. Global Conference on Victim Assistance. To begin our program, I would like to invite Ms. Burut Talan Ikios to the podium. Ms. Ikios represents the youth of the world and she will host this morning opening ceremony. Ms. Ikios will speak in Arabic. Translation is available. Headset are prepared for you for your translation. Please, Ms. Ikios.
مرحبا جميعا. أقدم نفسي أولا. أنا ناجية ورود طالب، عضوة في تجمع المعوقين بالعراق. بداية حابة أشكر الحكومة الكمبودية والاتحاد الأوروبي ووحدة دعم تنظيم الاتفاقية على دعمهم لتنظيم هذا الحدث الكبير. بداية أنا أحد الناجين تعرضت إلى حادث. هذا الحادث سبب لي إلى بتر في قدمي. أنا هنا اليوم لأن هنالك الكثير من الشباب الذين يتعرضون للإصابة بالألغام والمخلفات الحربية. دعيت اليوم لأفتتح هذا الحدث الكبير لأكون ممثلة عن الناجين الشباب الذين يتعرضون للألغام. وللأسف الشديد إن النزاعات موجودة وبشكل مستمر، وأعداد الشباب الذين يتعرضون إلى الألغام والمخلفات الحربية يتزايدون وبشكل مستمر. لهذا أدعو من حضراتكم أن نقف دقيقة صمت واحدة على أرواح الضحايا حول العالم. نتمنى من الفريق يجهزون الفيديو. شكرا لحضراتكم. نتأمل بعد 3 أيام من هذا المؤتمر أن يتم تنفيذ وعد الاتفاقية باتجاه الناجين. أنا عن نفسي أتمنى أن تتوقف بعض الدول عن صناعة الألغام وأدوات الدمار، وأن تنتهي الحروب والنزاعات، وأن نعيش بأمان وسلام ومحبة. تيست. تيست. نعم، منذ ما يقارب من 30 عاماً أراد أحد الناجين الشباب أن يعترف الآخرون بالمعاناة التي تسببها الألغام. انضم تون تشارنيلث إلى الحملة الدولية لإزالة الألغام المضادة للأفراد، ونيابة عن الحملة الدولية لحظر الألغام الأرضية حصل على جائزة نوبل للسلام، وهو موجود إلينا اليوم ليتحدث عن ضرورة الحفاظ علينا نحن الناجين. أعطي الكلمة لسفير الحملة الدولية لحظر الألغام الأرضية توني تشاناريث ممثل كمبوديا.
Thank you very much. Chumbrip Su. This is the way of Cambodian people greeting to each other. Chumbrip Su. How happy I am to see you all in Cambodia, my country. Our Chairman President of the, and to share the stage at our opening ceremony with our German President of the Convention. I remember very well being in Cologne with its amazing cathedral and leading a mine band procession on the Marienplatz Plate in Munich years ago. Germany is a great supporter of our treaty and has always insisted on victim assistance as one of its pillars. But Prince Marriott, a big active friend of survivor and of victim assistance. With ICRC, the UN human rights partner since the beginning. With EU, generously supported this global conference and also support BA around the world. With my good friend, High Excellency Lee Tuch, champion on mine action. I also want to welcome especially Tamar. Where is you, Tamar? Gabelnek, our new international campaign to ban landmines. Please clap your hand for her. We welcome you all and ask you to be creative and finding ways that really support survivors, that help them to a good future with right uphill and need meet. VA is about rights and needs. VA is about participation and listening to the voice of survivors. VA is about cooperative decision making. VA is about restorative justice and even transitional justice. But most of all, VA is about peace, not war. It's so love for the dignity of each person, not hate, that comes from war or revenge and greed. At this moment, we remember Gaza and Israel, Myanmar, Ukraine, and pray deeply for peace and justice. We remember those who have senselessly lost their lives. Back to victim assistance. Some of the needs in poor countries are still food, housing, education, health, prosthesis, wheelchair, and accessibility. Assistance to victims of landmines and ERW must be embedded in programs and projects and structure that can carry on even after all the landmines are cleared. We call this sustainability of victim assistance. Donors sometimes talk about the sustainability of the services they give money for. This is important that everyone needs it. So to ease the sustainability of the life of each victim And we beg you, generous giver from so many countries, to remember the weakest and the poorest of the victims. They need a government and funding that can care for them. A woman laying on her bed with 4 young children to feed needs the care from village community. Resourcing them, and village and commune leaders can help. So to get the support of survivor groups, often a word of encouragement from another survivor can begin a change in their lives. So support survivor groups. We welcome again everybody and enjoy Cambodia as you work hard to uphold rights and meet needs. Engage in conversation with the survivor here. They have much rightness to share. Remember the word of Excellency Prasukon, victim assistance is the heart of our treaty. Our Cambodian King Norodom Sihanouk and our Prime Minister Hun Sen have always backed our treaty. So let this conference and Cambodian lead the way forward to stronger and better victim assistance. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. كما كان للجنة الدولية للصليب الأحمر أهمية كبيرة على اتفاقية حظر الألغام المضادة للأفراد، وقد أرسل نائب رئيسها السيد جيل كاربوني رسالة فيديو.
Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, although I cannot be with you in person at this important global conference in Cambodia, it is an honor to join you virtually on behalf of the International Committee of the Red Cross. Many amongst you may be familiar with our work. We help people around the world affected by armed conflict and violence, doing everything we can to protect their lives and dignity and to relieve their suffering. This includes carrying out a range of life-saving activities for war-wounded people, including mine victims. For decades, we have worked in countries like Afghanistan, Cambodia, Nigeria, Sudan, and Yemen, where our prosthetists and orthotists and physiotherapists have enabled thousands of women, men, and children to regain their mobility and their dignity. Alongside our partners in the International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement, we are providing technical and financial support to initiatives that address weapon contamination in over 50 countries and territories. We take a holistic approach that encompasses social inclusion and victim assistance, ensuring people with disabilities can lead productive lives. As we know, 30 years of conflict left Cambodia heavily contaminated by anti-personnel mines and other explosive remnants of war. Its population continues to pay a heavy price, with one of the highest percentages of conflict-related amputations in the world. Working in partnership with the Cambodian authorities, the Cambodian Red Cross, and other local and international actors, our objective in Cambodia is to empower people disabled by conflict to play an active role in society. Our approach is interdisciplinary, addressing both physical and mental trauma. During this conference, Jess Marked, our social inclusion expert, will speak in more detail about the ICRC's work on helping people with disabilities to regain their self-confidence and self-esteem through team sport. We are also working with people with disabilities to help develop their economic opportunities and to improve their access to education. Ladies and gentlemen, the 1997 Mind Ban Treaty, the 2006 Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and the 2008 Convention on Cluster Munitions. They all made a crucial difference to the care of war wounded, highlighting the duty to assist with medical care, rehabilitation, psychosocial support, and social and economic reintegration of mine victims and all people with disabilities. While a lot of efforts has been invested in advocacy and awareness, progress remains weak in the areas of physical rehabilitation and social inclusion, with health systems in many countries failing well short of meeting people's actual needs. It is vital that international and local actors align and scale up efforts to strengthen national systems by working with the Ministries of Health and Social Affairs and with organizations representing people with disabilities themselves to further develop an efficient and inclusive rehabilitation sector that places the social needs of people with disabilities center stage. I take this opportunity to reassure you that the ICRC will continue to accompany you on this journey, and I wish you well in your discussions and deliberations over the coming days. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. ولأن مساعدة ضحايا الألغام وغيرها من الذخائر المتفجرة هي أيضاً مسألة تتعلق بحقوق الإنسان، تنضم إلينا اليوم الممثلة القطرية لمكتب المفوض السامي لحقوق الإنسان رويدة الحاج.
الممثلة القطرية. Thank you. Excellencies, Excellency Lituch, Your Highness, Excellencies, Ambassadors, esteemed audience, colleagues, it's such a pleasure to participate in the Global Conference on Victim Assistance in a Disability Rights context with a focus on greater inclusion. And I thank the organizers for this opportunity to address the conference and relay views of United Nations on the matter. When we talk about victims, we refer to persons either individually or collectively who have suffered physical, emotional, psychological injury, economic loss, or substantial impairment of their fundamental rights through acts or omissions related to the use of mines or the presence of explosive remnants of war. Mine victims include those directly impacted individually or survivors, their families and communities affected by the mines, explosive remnant of war, cluster munitions, or improvised explosive devices following conflict. Victim assistance is thus a broad reference to all adequate age, disability, and gender responsive support provided to victims, with this purpose of reducing the physical and psychological implications of trauma and overcoming economic loss, social marginalization. Victim assistance should therefore aim at restoring the exercise of all human rights of survivors and communities at large. Esteemed audience, peace building is a unique moment in time when historic injustice can be confronted as such and when new beginnings can be established. These moments bleed peace and security, development and human rights. Regrettably, these unique opportunities for systemic change are regularly missed as they apply to persons with disabilities. United Nations in-country entities advocate for national adherence and effective implementation of and the full compliance with victim assistance obligations under international human rights law, including Anti-Personnel Mine Ban Convention, the Oslo Action Plan 2024 for supporting the implementation of the Anti-Personnel Mind Ban Convention, and, of course, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and its optional protocol. This convention, the United Nations Convention, has achieved almost universal ratification. Today, we have 188 states that have ratified the convention, and 105 have become parties to the optional protocol. The steadily growing number of ratification demonstrate the strong commitment of member states to building societies in which persons with disabilities fully enjoy all human rights and fundamental freedoms on an equal basis with others, and seek to support victims to regain control over their lives and realize their rights. The principles of obligations of equality, participation, and non-discrimination enshrined in the convention, the UN Convention, are truly inspiring. Decision makers and service leaders can also access and learn from vibrant communities of organizations of persons with disabilities to ensure meaningful inclusion and ultimately empowerment. The government in Cambodia is placing a great emphasis on the right of persons with disabilities, including raising awareness of the significance of support of persons with disabilities. The Disability Action Council of Cambodia, which is under the Ministry of Social Affairs, is dedicating efforts and actively engaging with the United Nations, including our Human Rights Office, in fostering human rights-based approach to disability, including the latest endorsement of the draft law. It's not yet endorsed yet, on the protection of rights of persons with disabilities in conformity with the international human rights obligations of Cambodia. This is really a great step. Several development partners are active in mine action in Cambodia, including UNDP. Engagement since 1992, and the latest Clearing for Results project, now in its fourth phase, 2020 and 2025, implemented with the Cambodian Mine Action and Victims Assistance Authority, CMAA. All efforts since the inception of various instruments, including the Anti-Personnel Mind Ban Convention, have worked on creating conditions that allow for meaningful participation of all persons with disabilities in their communities. These efforts should continue to focus on commitments made by state parties to establish, enforce, and implement disability-inclusive laws and public policies relevant for protecting survivors and then communities. I truly believe in the power of joining our efforts to ensure that all persons, including persons with disabilities, enjoy full respect of their human rights and fundamental freedoms on an equal basis with others. I wish you a successful outcome of the global conference, and I thank you.
شكراً. يسعدني أيضاً أن أقدم شخصاً كان لأكثر من عقدين من الزمن مناصراً لأعمال المتعلقة بالألغام وحقوق الأشخاص ذوي الإعاقة، بما في ذلك الناجين ليس في الأردن فقط ولكن أيضا في بقية العالم، كما إنه متحمس جدا لانضمام كل دولة في العالم إلى الاتفاقية. أود أن أقدم لكم المبعوث الخاص صاحب السمو الملكي الأمير مرعد بن رعد بن زيد الحسين من الديوان الملكي ورئيس المجلس الأعلى لحقوق الأشخاص ذوي الإعاقة في الأردن.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Your Excellencies, Dear friends, good morning to you all. We are convening this conference here today called the Third Global Conference on the Rights of Survivors of Anti-Personnel Mines and Other Explosive Remnants of War and Disability Rights at a very timely moment in the lead up to the MSP next month in Geneva and the 5th review conference of the Anti-Personnel Mine Ban Convention next year here in Cambodia. I believe these few days together will give us an opportunity to reflect and deliberate on key issues that concern survivors and to assess the progress and or obstacles that have hindered states from achieving tangible results. In my humble view, we need to think collectively of new ways or methods to invigorate and stimulate states' parties into action. For those of you in the room who, like me, have attended all or most of the meetings of states' parties and review conferences during the last 20 years, I am sure you will agree with me that we are all guilty at times of repeating the same old platitudes over and over and over again on victim assistance, and sometimes, sadly, at the expense of real action on the ground. Survivors, if I may be humbly permitted to speak in their name, are in general tired and fed up of hearing us making big promises and pledges. They want to feel confident that their country really cares about them and that it is doing all it can to afford them their inalienable rights as citizens, and that they be granted some restitution if there has been direct negligence on behalf of the state. To be clear, I'm not saying that we as states parties have not achieved results or improved the lives of survivors since the inception of the convention. What I am saying is that we do still have the ability and the responsibility to do a lot more and to spring out of the slumber if we find ourselves in it. I believe all mine-affected states need to examine the linkages between the Mine Ban Convention and the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the CRPD. Survivors' needs must be addressed directly, but also states parties must seriously legislate and design broader frameworks in line with the CRPD that consider the whole spectrum of rights that all persons with disabilities ought to enjoy, such as the right to education, healthcare, employment, justice, housing, accessibility, transportation, rehabilitation, political participation, tourism, sports and leisure, and a lot more. I also believe that mine-affected states must not continue to think that victim assistance is solely dependent upon donor support. In order to achieve palpable results regarding the rights that I just mentioned, education, healthcare, employment, etc., the approach must not be business as usual. Mine-affected countries, and all countries for that matter, must ask themselves, where is disability rights really on the national priority ladder? Is it even on the ladder? And if it is, where on the ladder is it? Is it way down below, on the lowest rung, or really high up, where it ought to be? The sad reality is that in many countries, it is not on the national priority ladder, and the issue only receives some of the crumbs that are left over on the dinner table. Why is this the case? Why are persons with disabilities in many countries around the world, who are often the most vulnerable and destitute, the most in need of social protection and care, left to their own devices and fate? It seems very unfair. If we were talking logic, it seems to me that those most vulnerable and those who deserve protection and a helping hand the most. In my humble view, mine-affected states in particular, who need assistance, must grasp the notion of ownership, own the problem, allocate necessary funding from the state budget, provide the human resources required to tackle the job, draft a national plan or strategy, etc., and in general adopt a very serious approach that is all about achieving results. If this is done, or if the mine-affected states make great strides in this direction and take ownership, the likelihood, I repeat, the likelihood that donor countries and entities will rally in support will be much higher. To all survivors of landmines and unexploded ordnance with us here today and beyond who feel disillusioned, we wish to seek your forgiveness for the shortcomings and deficiencies that may have hampered progress. I don't want to make any excuses, but prefer to say that all mine and UXO affected countries have the ability and capacity to make headway on disability rights if they take ownership, as I just mentioned, if they take it seriously. It may not be easy. It may be a very hard slog, but it is certainly achievable. You must always believe so. Be sure to raise your voice and champion your cause at every opportunity. Next year, at the review conference especially, we must assess where we are on victim assistance, what has worked and what hasn't. We cannot expect, of course, to have better results if we are not prepared to do things differently. And we must, in my humble opinion, do things differently. I must take the opportunity here to mention that Germany, Jordan, and IDA, the International Disability Alliance, will be co-presiding over the third Global Disability Summit in Berlin in April 2025. And what will be most significant about this summit is that it will be the first summit ever on disability rights attended physically by heads of state. It will be the first time that world leaders will congregate to deliberate the issues that we will be discussing here at this very conference. So see you all in Berlin in 2025, God willing. I wish to thank the Cambodian government, the Foreign Ministry, CMAA, their excellencies, the incoming and outgoing presidents of the convention, and the implementation support unit, and all those involved in the preparations of this important conference. All the very best. It is a big challenge, but I'm sure you will manage it superbly. I thank you all.
شكراً. تتولى ألمانيا رئاسة الاتفاقية هذا العام، وهي أيضاً واحدة من أكبر الجهات المانحة في العالم للأعمال المتعلقة بالألغام وبرامج مساعدة الضحايا. وألمانيا هي أيضاً الرئيس المشارك لهذا المؤتمر. واليوم لم يتمكن الرئيس سعادة توماس كوبل رئيس الاتفاقية وسفير ألمانيا لدى المؤتمر نزع السلاح من الانضمام بسبب تأخر رحلته، ويحل محله سفير ألمانيا لدى كمبوديا سعادة ستيفان ميسيرر.
Your Royal Highness, Special Envoy Prince Mirad Rad Zaid Al Hussein of Jordan, Your Excellency Dr. Lee Tuch, Senior Minister in charge as Chairman of National Committee ESCAP and First Vice President of CMAA, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and delegates. It's my honor and privilege to address this important conference on victim assistance in a disability rights context. As president of the Anti-Personnel Mine Ban Convention and co-chair of this global conference, Germany is deeply committed to ending the devastating effects of anti-personnel mines on individuals and communities around the world. The Anti-Personnel Mine Ban Convention has been extremely successful in reducing the use and existence of anti-personnel mines and in supporting a comprehensive response to address the needs of mine survivors. In just over 25 years since it was opened for signature, the convention has achieved near universal acceptance, with only 20% of the world's states choosing to remain outside of it. However, despite our progress, the challenges that remain are vast and complex. One of these challenges is how to ensure that we can deliver on our promise to survivors and victims of anti-personnel mines. It is this challenge that we are here to discuss over the next couple of days, and I take this opportunity to thank you all for joining in. Today, we are unfortunately seeing the rise in conflicts throughout the world, which has resulted in the rise in the use of anti-personnel mines and subsequent rise in casualties. In this regard, it is more important than ever that we are gathered here. In 2019, the state parties adopted the Oslo Action Plan, in which state parties committed to ensuring the full, equal and effective participation of mine victims in society based on respect for human rights, gender equality, inclusion and non-discrimination, and to the integration of victim assistance in broader national policy plans and legal frameworks relating to the rights of persons with disabilities and to health, education, employment, development, and poverty reduction. The implementation of these actions certainly requires an intersectoral and inclusive approach. In this regard, I'm thrilled that all of you gathered here represent states, international and national organizations, non-governmental organizations, organizations of persons with disabilities, as well as survivors. We have much work to do and a lot to accomplish to ensure that mine survivors and other persons with disabilities are able to exercise their rights on an equal footing with others in their respective communities, and that the required services are available barrier-free. Thankfully, nearly all of the state parties that have reported anti-personnel mine casualties have also joined the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, a critical framework to guarantee the rights of mine survivors. In November of this year, the German presidency will chair the 21st MSP and will then have the pleasure of handing the presidency to His Excellency Lee Tutsch, who will preside over the 5th Review Conference in 2024. In the lead up to the 5th Review Conference, Cambodia will take on the task of leading the state parties in the development of a new action plan for the period 2025 till 2029. This action plan will include actions which the state parties will commit to pursuing, including the area of victim assistance. For this reason, it is more important than ever that we take this moment to reflect on what we've accomplished and use this opportunity to draw from our discussions key matters for consideration towards Convention's 5th Review Conference. Once again, thank you for your presence here this week and for your engagement over the next 3 days of discussions. Thank you.
شكراً. أود مرة أخرى أن أشكر الاتحاد الأوروبي على دعمه حتى يتمكن هذا العدد الكبير من الأشخاص ذوي الإعاقة والناجين وممثلي المجتمعات المتضررة من الألغام من الحضور هنا. ويتحدث نيابة عن الاتحاد الأوروبي السفير لدى كمبوديا والمبعوث الخاص للاتحاد الأوروبي إلى ميانمار صاحب السعادة إيغور دريسيماز.
morning. Excellency Lee Tuch, Senior Minister and First Vice President of the Cambodia Mine Action and Victim Assistance Authority, His Royal Highness Prince Mirat Rad Zaid Al Hussein, Special Envoy of the Anti-Personnel Mine Ban Convention, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and participants of nearly 200 states and civil society and landmine survivors. Thank you for joining today. Many of you have traveled far and wide to be here to attend this third global conference on victim assistance in a disability rights context. I'm very honored to represent the European Union at the opening session of this conference. I am a Belgian citizen, born and raised some 20, 30 kilometers from what they call Flanders Fields, where some of the most intense fighting took place during World War I. That war, took place between 1914 and 1918. That's more than a century ago. Yet I do remember during my younger years hearing those stories of farmers who run into mines, bombs, or unexploded ammunition, with all the suffering that can go with it. Only last year, more than 200 tons of explosives were collected, still in that area. Cambodia's violent history is much more recent, and the challenges related to remaining explosive are therefore all the more acute. I therefore want to express my gratitude and thanks to the Cambodian Mine Action and Victims Assistance Authority for your devotion and support in leading Cambodia to pursue the target of mine-free status. The results of your work are truly impressive. Over the last 30 years, you helped to release 2,531 square kilometers of contaminated land, found and destroyed over 1 million anti-personnel mines, 26,000 anti-tank mines, and over 3 million items of unexploded ordnance, benefiting about 9 million people. Unfortunately, also here, every year still a few people fall victim of these explosives. There are few, but even if it's only one, that is too much. It was to tackle this suffering that 25 years ago the Ottawa Convention entered into force. A convention drawn up to prohibit the use, stockpiling, production, and transfer of anti-personnel mines and to speed up their destruction. The convention became, I think, a success story of multilateral diplomacy and of the tenacity of worldwide campaigning. And many of the campaigners are present here today. And importantly for our discussion today, the convention became the first multilateral arms control treaty to make provisions for the victims of weapons. The inclusion of a provision to assist the victims in the text of the convention was not a given, but the result of hard negotiations by survivors, interested states, international and non-governmental organizations. Thanks to that provision, nowadays, any instrument of international humanitarian law dealing with conventional weapons should include a provision to assist victims of weapons. However, much should be done to translate this provision into practice. Of course, we should continue to proceed with landmine clearance and the destruction of anti-personnel mines, but we should not forget the importance of victim assistance. The European Union has long been committed to humanitarian demining and victim assistance. Over the last 6 years, we spent 800 million euro in nearly all heavily mine-affected countries and regions of the world. We also work with countries to ensure the assistance of mine victims is part and parcel of their development planning. Today's third global conference on victims assistance is part of this global support. During the two previous conferences, we discussed and agreed how to develop national plans of action to enhance the potential of survivors and families of those killed and injured. The focus of this third conference is on greater inclusion of survivors, notably persons with disabilities, to create equal opportunities for all. Survivor associations and organizations of persons with disability should be part and parcel of the conversation as we develop policies that allow them to articulate their needs, ensure participation in decision making, enhance capacities, and improve access to opportunities. In that respect, we welcome the presence today of many organizations of persons with disabilities who have joined us from different parts of the world. We also support stakeholders dialogue facilitated during the last 20 months in countries like Colombia, Guinea-Bissau, Iraq, and Sudan, with plans to continue those activities with ECOWAS, Yemen, and Zimbabwe. These dialogues allow participants to share good practices to ensure that disability rights and development agendas are inclusive. This inclusive dialogue should continue, and all parties responsible for the well-being of mine-affected communities and survivors are welcome and indeed encouraged to enter into the dialogue space and build partnerships with one another. As part of the approach to greater inclusion, the conference started to work with the World Health Organization and ICRC to address needs for assistive technology in healthcare in mine-affected countries, and for regional cooperation forums to advance South-South cooperation. This third global conference provides an opportunity to renew our commitments and define what still needs to be done to meet the needs of the victims. It requires collective and concerted efforts by all stakeholders, in particular by governance and agencies involved with demining action in framing the legislative framework, including in relations to people with disability, education, training, and ensure quality and timely victims assistance. By NGOs in supporting quality implementation of action plans in collaboration with governments. By international advocacy groups in providing a watchdog role in monitoring the progress. By donors in enabling victim assistance as priority for funding, and by victims as active contributors to the dialogue and proactive agents in defining and articulating their needs. Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in 2021 alone, 5,544 people were injured or killed, most of them civilians and half of those children. We owe it to them not to give up pursuing a mine-free world. I wish you all a successful discussion and encourage you to contribute actively to the success of these days. Thank you very much.
شكراً. أود أن أتوقف لحظة لأعرب عن تقديري لدفء وكرم وضيافة شعب كمبوديا وجميع الموظفين في CMAA، بدءاً من الأشخاص الموجودين في المطار وحتى الرئيس المعين لمؤتمر الاستعراضي والوزير الأول والنائب الأول لرئيس جمهورية كمبوديا وهيئة مكافحة الألغام في كمبوديا ومساعدة الضحايا سعادة الدكتور ليتوتش. شكرا لمعاليكم، الكلمة لكم.
Thank you very much indeed. My respect and appreciation to Root Talent for coming over. Thank you very much. My friends, Donarate, thank you. Thank you for being here with us. Your Royal Highness Prince Mir, Special Envoy to the Convention, Ambassador Igor of the EU to Cambodia, and Special Envoy for Myanmar, Ambassador Stefan, Ambassador of Germany to Cambodia, honorable delegates, members of diplomatic here, thank you very much for coming. Many of you are here. We feel overwhelmed with your presence, indeed. Your Excellencies, ambassadors to the Kingdom of Cambodia. Esteemed private sector representatives, you are here. My greetings to all of you from civil societies and of course to all our delegates from overseas. Good morning. I speak to you as people of compassion, experience, and resilience. A profound sense of honor and privilege envelops me as we converge here in the resplendent realms of Cambodia, a nation steadfast in its dedication to championing the rights of survivors of anti-personal mines and other explosive ordnance in the milieu of disability rights. My dear friends, I thank you profoundly for the efforts you have made to come here across great distances. Your participation is truly meaningful for our conference, for all of us. Thank you for your attendance. On behalf of the Cambodian people and Samdech Theppady Honmanet, our Honorable Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Cambodia, I wholeheartedly extend an exuberant welcome to all, casting a warm embrace of the third global conference on the rights of survivors of anti-personal mines and other explosive ordnance in a disability rights context. Now, thanks to the generous financial support provided by a global project sponsored by the Council of the European Union, Cambodia is proud to co-host, along with, of course, the EU delegation here in Phnom Penh and the German embassy in Phnom Penh, to co-host this event through our My Action and Victim Assistance Authority. I applaud the European Union's global project, which seeks to support state parties to the convention to implement various aspects of their treaty obligations, including victim assistance. Your Highness, honorable delegates, ladies and gentlemen, our journey begins with the convention's poignant preamble, resonating with the heartfelt aspiration of states parties to extend unwavering assistance encompassing care, rehabilitation, reintegration, and economic resurgence for mine victims. From this benevolent seed blossomed the edifice of victim assistance, an approach firmly rooted in the realm of legality and human rights. This seminal concept burgeoned in 1997 within the convention, subsequently illuminating the path for other global disarmament endeavors to uphold the sacred obligation. Yet our canvas is vaster. We convene with an understanding that the endeavor to secure rights and foster healing for survivors transcends the boundaries of isolation. It demands harmonious integration within our nation's broader policies, plans, and legal framework. It is a harmonization magnified by the ethereal echoes of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, interwoven seamlessly with our collective dedication to the Sustainable Development Goals. This juncture, the third global conference beckons us to delve beyond superficial discourse. Let our intellectual tapestry be woven with the threads of audacious imagination, drawing inspiration from the tales of resilience and triumph that survivors enkindled. It is an assembly underscored by the poignant awareness that our commitment as states parties extends far beyond rhetoric. It is a symphony of shared actions aimed at kindling the embers of transformation. Your Highness, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is with immense pride that I share the strides Cambodia with generous contributions and assistance from our friendly countries, from development partners and private sector, has undertaken the realm of my action, a testament to our commitment to alleviate the burdens borne by survivors. Our nation's journey has been a tapestry woven with dedication, spending demanding efforts, comprehensive victim assistance programs, and the restoration of hope to those impacted by the scars of conflict. The conflict that lasted over 30 years in my country. Cambodia, in its enduring pursuit, exemplified the fusion of progress and compassion in its My Action sector, enshrining the philosophy that no survivor shall be left behind. As we convened, I extend a heartfelt welcome to all nations, inviting you to immerse yourselves in the splendor of the Kingdom of Wonder. Let our shared experience extend beyond conference halls, having a profound impact on the lives of survivors worldwide. Brief in the stories of Cambodia groved interwoven with the vivacity of their landscapes and the warmth of our people. Your Highness, Excellencies, dear friends, today at this conference, I stand before you to open discussion and encourage deliberation of a matter of great importance, the assistance to victims of landmines and their families. I sincerely believe that this is a humanitarian issue, a human rights issue, a public health issue. It is a moral imperative that calls upon our collective conscience to take action and support those whose lives has been shattered by these indiscriminate weapons of war. And no, the victims of landmines are not mere statistics. They are living, breathing souls, mothers who cradle their children, fathers who protect their families, children with dreams yet to be fulfilled, hardworking farmers, and ordinary individuals who, through no fault of their own, found themselves in the cruel grip of destiny. These individuals carry the weight of both visible and hidden scars etched their bodies and eternally etched into their hearts, a chance encounter with a landmine. In the blink of an eye, their lives are transformed, and the world as they knew it shudders. My dear friends, it is our profound moral obligation as compassionate beings to reach out to these survivors and embrace them in their time of need and provide the support and solace they so desperately yearn for. May this conference not only an exploration of academic insights, but an expedition of the heart, an odyssey marked by resonance of unity and collaboration. Let our collective spirit transform words into actions, resonating with universal truth that when survivors stand tall, society stands stronger. Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, dear friends, in conclusion, in this splendid kingdom, may each moment be etched in your memory as radiant testaments to collective aspirations, and may you depart with hearts aglow with new found connections and dreams. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and finally, with immense gratitude and humility, on behalf of the Royal Government of Cambodia, I declare the opening of the third Victim Assistance Global Conference. I thank you for your attention.
Excellencies, Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our opening ceremony has come to an end. I would like to thank all our guests of honor for your meaningful remarks. And Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, while our VIP leaving the hall, please remain seated. Thank you, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen.